The summer heat hung heavy in the air as Maya Thompson walked through the busy streets, her sharp eyes scanning her surroundings. She looked like any other professional woman, confident, poised, but she carried a secret no one could see. When a group of police officers decided to have fun at her expense, they had no idea who they were messing with. A simple tug on her skirt would set off a chain of events they couldn't escape. By the time they realized their mistake, it was too late. The hunter had already marked her prey. Forever, before we star the story, comment below where in the world you're watching from today, and if you enjoy stories like this, don't forge a subscriber so you never miss a new one. It was a hot summer afternoon in downtown New York. The streets buzzed with life, cars honking, street vendors calling out to customers, and pedestrians rushing to their destinations. Among them was Maya Thompson, a tall, confident black woman dressed in a sleek black pencil skirt and a white blouse. She carried herself with the kind of authority that made people take a second look. As she walked past a group of police officers standing on the corner, she could feel their eyes on her. At first, she ignored it. She was used to the stares, the whispers, the subtle looks of curiosity or judgment. But then something unexpected happened. One of the officers, a tall man with a cocky smirk, reached out and lightly tugged at the hem of her skirt. "Hey, nice outfit," he said with a chuckle. "What's under there?" Maya stopped in her tracks. A tense silence settled over the moment as she slowly turned to face them. "Excuse me?" she said, her voice calm but firm. The other officers laughed, one of them nudging the first guy. "Relax, lady, we're just having some fun," another one added. Maya took a deep breath. She had dealt with men like this before, men who thought they could get away with anything just because of a badge. She looked the first officer straight in the eyes and said, "You sure you want to do this?" The laughter died down a little. The officer hesitated for a split second, but his arrogance wouldn't let him back down. "Oh, come on, don't be so serious, we're just playing around." Maya smiled, a small, knowing smile. Then, slowly, she reached into her purse and pulled out a leather wallet. She flipped it open, revealing a shiny badge. "CIA," she said coolly. The officers' faces went pale. The air around them shifted instantly. The smug expressions on the officers' faces disappeared, replaced by shock and a hint of fear. The officer who had touched Maya's skirt took a step back as if he had just touched fire. "CIA?" he stammered, his voice suddenly unsure. Maya took a step closer, her eyes locked on him. "That's right. And now I have your names, your badge numbers, and—" She gestured toward a nearby security camera. Footage of what just happened. The other officers exchanged nervous glances. One of them, a younger guy, who clearly wasn't expecting this, swallowed hard. "Look, we didn't mean anything by it. It was just a joke." Maya let out a short laugh, shaking her head. "A joke? Do I look like I'm laughing?" Her voice was still calm, but there was steel underneath it. The first officer, now visibly sweating, raised his hands. Okay, let's not blow this out of proportion." Maya cut him off. "Not blow this out of proportion?" She stepped even closer, her voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "You see, the thing about being CIA is, I know exactly how to deal with situations like this. You harass the wrong woman, and suddenly your whole career is on the line." The officers shifted uncomfortably. The street, which had been filled with noise just moments ago, seemed eerily quiet around them. Then Maya took a step back and tilted her head. "Here's what's going to happen," she said. "You're going to apologize, loud enough for everyone here to hear. Then you're going to go back to your station and you're going to think long and hard about the kind of men you want to be." The officers hesitated, but Maya raised an eyebrow, daring them to defy her. The first officer clenched his jaw, his pride battling against the weight of the situation. He glanced around, noticing a few passers-by slowing down to watch the confrontation. His fellow officers avoided his gaze, clearly wanting no part in this mess. Then, realizing he had no way out, he sighed. "I'm sorry," he muttered under his breath. Maya crossed her arms. Louder. He hesitated, then straightened his posture. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice firm but reluctant. It was unprofessional. Maya's eyes didn't leave his. She waited. The younger officer quickly followed. "Yeah, we shouldn't have done that. It won't happen again." Maya studied their faces for a moment before giving a small nod. "Good." Then, slipping her badge back into her purse, she added, "Because next time, I won't just let you walk away." The officers swallowed hard. The message was clear. Maya turned without another word and walked away, her heels clicking against the pavement. She could still feel their eyes on her, but this time it wasn't amusement or arrogance, it was respect. And maybe, just maybe, a little bit of fear. As she rounded the corner, she pulled out her phone and sent a quick text to an unknown number. "Incident handled. Names attached. Keep an eye on them." A few seconds later, a reply came through. "Understood." Maya smirked to herself. Some lessons had to be taught the hard way. The officers stood frozen for a moment, watching Maya disappear into the crowd. The tension in the air was thick, and none of them spoke. The reality of what had just happened was sinking in fast. The younger officer, still looking shaken, turned to the one who had touched Maya's skirt. "Man, we really messed up." The first officer wiped a hand over his face, exhaling sharply. "No kidding." He glanced around again, paranoid now. If she was CIA, then she had resources, connections. Who knew what kind of trouble they had just walked into? Meanwhile, Maya kept walking, her phone still in hand. She navigated through the busy streets, blending into the crowd effortlessly. This wasn't the first time she had encountered men like that, and it wouldn't be the last. But she had made sure they'd remember her. A few minutes later, she entered a quiet coffee shop, slipping into a seat near the window. She pulled out a second phone, a secure, untraceable one, and made a call. A deep voice answered. "Go ahead." "Send someone to check into Officers Daniels, Price, and Carter from the 12th Precinct," Maya said casually, stirring her coffee. "I want to know if this was just a one-time incident, or if they have a pattern." "Understood," the voice replied. Maya leaned back in her chair, watching the city move outside. Sometimes justice didn't happen in a courtroom. Sometimes it happened in the shadows. As Maya sipped her coffee, she glanced out the window, her mind already working through the next steps. This wasn't just about a few arrogant cops on a power trip. This was about something bigger. Patterns. Abuse of power. And if they had done it to her, how many other women had they harassed? How many had been too afraid to push back? Her second phone vibrated, a new message. "Officer Daniels has 3 prior complaints, all dismissed. Price and Carter, clean records but suspicious activity. Digging deeper." Maya exhaled slowly. 3 prior complaints, that meant other women had spoken up, but the system had failed them. No surprise there. She tapped a quick reply. "Good, keep going. Find out who covered for them." A few seats away, a man in a grey hoodie was pretending to read a newspaper, but Maya could feel his eyes flicking toward her. She smirked. Another tale. They never learned. She pulled out her compact mirror, pretending to fix her lipstick, while catching a clear reflection of the man. Young, early 30s, standard surveillance posture. Not a cop. Too stiff for that. Maybe private security. Or worse, someone with a badge and something to hide. Maya set her coffee down and stretched lazily, giving no sign she'd noticed him. Then casually, she grabbed her purse and walked toward the exit. As she stepped onto the busy sidewalk, she heard footsteps behind her. They had taken the bait. Maya walked at a steady pace, weaving effortlessly through the crowd. She didn't look back, but she could hear the man's footsteps trailing behind her, calculated, careful, trying not to be obvious. Amateur. She smiled to herself. If they wanted to follow her, she'd make it interesting. She took a sudden left into a narrow alleyway, the kind of place most people avoided. It was quiet, tucked between two old buildings, a perfect place to disappear. The footsteps behind her hesitated, then quickened. Maya counted the beats in her head. 3, 2, 1. The moment the man stepped in behind her, she moved. With a swift motion, she spun around, grabbed his wrist, and slammed him against the brick wall before he could react. Her knee pressed against his ribs, pinning him in place. "Who sent you?" she asked, her voice calm but firm. The man grunted, trying to push her off, but Maya applied more pressure. "I won't ask again," she said. "Who sent you?" The man clenched his jaw, clearly debating whether to talk. Then Maya reached into his jacket and pulled out his wallet, flipping it open. "Robert Langley, private investigator." She raised an eyebrow. "Private eye, huh? So you're either working for a lawyer, a journalist, or someone with something to hide." Langley exhaled sharply, finally giving in. "I was hired to keep an eye on you. That's all I know." Maya leaned in slightly. "By who?" Langley hesitated. "A cop." Bingo. Maya released him, taking a step back. "Walk away, Langley, and tell your client that I'm coming." The man rubbed his wrist, nodded stiffly, and hurried out of the alley without another word. Maya watched him go, her mind already working. Someone on the force knew she was digging, and they were scared. Good. She pulled out her phone and sent one final message. "I want everything on Officer Daniels and his connections, now." Her phone buzzed almost immediately. "It's bigger than we thought. Corruption, cover-ups, and it goes way up. Be careful." Maya smiled. Be careful? Number. They needed to be careful, because now she wasn't just watching, she was hunting. Maya exited the alleyway, blending back into the city's rhythm. The game had officially begun. She knew how these things worked. Corrupt cops didn't act alone. If Daniels was dirty, then someone higher up was protecting him. Her phone vibrated again. Daniels has ties to a Captain Reynolds, multiple internal complaints all buried, possible connection to a trafficking ring. Maya's stomach tightened. Trafficking. That changed everything. She hailed a cab and slipped inside, giving the driver an address, an old warehouse near the docks. It wasn't just any warehouse, it was an off-the-books CIA safe house, a place where favors could be cashed in without red tape. As the car pulled up, she stepped out and knocked 3 times on the rusted metal door. A small slot slid open, and a pair of sharp eyes studied her. Then the door creaked open. Inside, a man in a leather jacket leaned against a desk, arms crossed. He had the look of someone who'd seen too much but wasn't done fighting. "Didn't think I'd see you again, Maya," he said. She smirked. "I need intel, Carter, the kind only you can get." Carter sighed, rubbing his jaw. "You always bring me trouble." Maya tossed a flash drive onto the table. "And I always bring you answers." Carter picked it up, plugged it into his laptop, and his expression darkened as he scanned the files. "Damn, this goes deep." Maya nodded. "I'm taking them down, every last one." Carter met her gaze. "Then you better be ready for war." Maya cracked her knuckles. "Oh, I am." Carter exhaled, shutting the laptop. "All right, if we do this, we do it right. No loose ends." Maya smirked. "Loose ends aren't my style." Over the next few hours they strategized, gathering enough evidence to make sure Daniels, Captain Reynolds, and everyone tied to them would go down hard. Maya sent the files to trusted contacts in the FBI and the press, people she knew couldn't be bought. By morning it was all over the news. Corrupt officers exposed in major trafficking ring bust. Arrests followed. Daniels, Reynolds, and half a dozen other officers were taken into custody. The department scrambled to save face, but the damage was done. Maya watched the headlines from her apartment, sipping coffee. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. You did good, but be careful. They always come back. She smirked, deleting the message. Let them try. She wasn't just a woman in a skirt. She was a hunter, and she never missed twice.